Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am your co host, Samuel Richardson.
And I'm Tiara Richardson.
And welcome to the Cuddle with Purpose show. I am super excited about this episode, as I am by every episode that we do together. But
Mhm.
I am excited about this episode because what we're going to be talking about today is gender roles in marriages.
Mhm.
And in reference to gender roles in marriages, how those gender roles in a marriage can make or break a relationship. We're going to be
Mhm.
coming from different aspects of that topic. So definitely, T man, I think it's important to establish gender roles um, in a relationship, even during the dating process. I would say,
I agree.
although our dating when we got together into a relationship, it moved real fast. It only took us 6 months, and then next thing you know, you had a ring on your finger and we was married. So
Mhm.
in that process, we didn't really like know the ins and outs of us per se, just to be honest.
Yeah.
Because when you move that fast, it's almost going to be literally impossible to know everything you need to know about a person. But with that being said, um, for example, one of the roles that I like doing in our relationship is folding clothes.
Mhm.
That's one of the roles that I
Yes.
think I've always done since we've been together. Even when we was living in different states, that's something that I like. Like when you came over and stuff like that, I was always washing clothes.
Always. I've
and
never seen
you
nobody wear much clothes.
and I know you had made mention and made fun of me on that on several occasions, but it's just something for me. It is something therapeutic. It's something that I always like doing, washing clothes, because sometimes I even get on you. Sometimes even if you don't put the right amount of dish detergent, I know with our new wash machine and dryer, but like, man, let me do it because
Well, you
sometimes we,
think
we
act like
got that fabric.
you think I put too much, whereas I don't think so. I think you want to just be a part of it because I measure things out, but you be trying to like take over me trying to do my little sprinkles with the little sprinkle thing, and that's the
And you
whole
put too much
experience
of
of
those sprinkles in there. Those sprinkles we'll have a big. See, let me give you an example. Let me give you an example. Like I remember buying, y'all know the big sprinkles of, it's like for where you put in the wash machine to
the
make your
freshener
clothes
stuff. Yeah.
smell extra good. So
Mhm.
we have the beads. It's the Gain, it's the brand. And we had got the big one. The big one costs around, like, I think around 12, $13, $14,
Mhm.
give or take. And I'll never forget, in about a week or a week and a half tops, that big canister was gone. And then I remember
Right.
one day, all right, so I remember one morning, uh, I was walking around there, and then my wife was like washing her clothes, right? And I was just kind of like observing, and I seen how she had just filled that whole thing up, and just something just clipped into my head, and I was like, "Hey, no, we can't be using that much of that because you don't need that much." And I know, like for instance, we got another big one, and it's been lasting a long time. But I guarantee you, if I would have let my wife wash the clothes and use those beady beads, we would have been out already. So
Well,
that's
first of
one of the
all,
roles
I
for
use
me.
them, and I go on ahead, go on ahead.
So that's one of the roles for me that I like doing, is just washing clothes, and not just washing clothes, but folding clothes. Now, I do My wife, she does wash her clothes and fold her clothes, but that's part of her occupational therapy because the occupational therapist had told her that is something that's good for her just to keep movements, with her hands and everything like that, to for her to wash her clothes and for her to fold her clothes. But with that being said, but I do wash her clothes. I remember the last time recently, several days ago, I washed her clothes and I put
But
them
you
in the dryer.
volunteered to do that. You volunteered to do
Yeah, I
that.
did. I did. I washed them and
Volunteered
dried them,
to
and then I
have
put them
to
in the
know.
basket, and then I had put them on that table, in the room, so that way all you had to do was just fold them.
Right. And like, see, now we have had some moments where you've thrown some clothes where I wanted to be on delicate cycle in with the other clothes. Or you've put clothes that I wanted to air dry in the dryer. And
Some of those
that's
clothes
the
should be air
conversation.
dry. Cause let me tell you
Some
what, air
some
dry.
no, no, some clothes are supposed to be air dried if you look at the direction for the particular clothing piece,
Why they in the
then you
dryer
would
if they air
know.
dry?
No, you've thrown them in there. That's what I'm saying. You've put my clothes in there when you wash my clothes.
When the last time I
Put you
did
on
that,
it.
T?
Yeah,
I have not.
we're
When
not
the
talking
last time
about
I
how
did
recent. See, that's what
the
you're missing.
last
We're
time.
talking
I
about
have not
overall.
done nothing like that. I can't even remember since I had took
Of
some
course, because
clothes
you
and put
tend
them
to
in there.
forget the stuff that you did. But it's all right. It's okay. I just appreciate you folding the clothes because you know that's not always my thing. However, I do like folding towels and washcloths because that's my jazz and they just always smell so good and fluffy. But anyway,
When
so
you feel like it.
yeah, when I feel like it. But I do appreciate you doing that because Lord. And that's interesting because I remember when I used to come to your house and we were dating, and I was just like, wow, this man, like he's the man of men. Like, okay, you wash clothes and you fold them and they smell good. Okay. Love it. But
But when you say man to man, how do you how do you feel? Well, you like that, so that's all that matters.
yeah,
That
that's
was
all
good.
that matters. I mean, I think that a lot of women would probably appreciate that because I literally know other women who always they wash all the clothes and they're like so overwhelmed by that because they don't have that help in washing clothes. Now,
Hmm.
I will say one of the things that I love to do that you don't do so much of is cooking. And I you've literally said like you're supposed to be cooking. And I think it's not so much of always the gender thing. I just think just because I'm the better cook.
Oh, you can have that. I mean, I already told you. I told you I'm not. I think I did that early on in our dating process, but
And we
then
were
once we
married,
had got one, well, if it was
like,
with a
some
married,
thought.
it was very minimum. So I made sure
You
that
can
it
shrimp
wasn't in a
tacos.
way where you was should be expecting me to be cooking. So it was very minimum. And then as we got even, saying even deeper into our marriage from a tenure perspective, I backed away from that because
Yeah, you did.
too many other things I gotta be doing. I ain't about to go and do all that now. I'm just not about to go and do all that. No.
I
Mm.
know. I understand. I understand. And
I'll be tired.
a lot of people feel like it's because they feel like I think the problem comes in when it comes to these gender roles and the different things that should be done is because a lot of people feel that the women are supposed to be doing more of the domesticated type of work and then the men should be doing the outside work and working and all that stuff. But now of course in today's society, you know now the expectations are that the women are supposed to do both, that they're supposed to be working and contributing to the household and they're supposed to be doing household work. So it's a little tricky, but I will say I love the fact that from very early on we had an understanding of partnership, and I think that that's what has sustained us thus far and has kept us level headed and us always being able to go back to that, even if we've had disputes, because Lord knows we've had them about what should and shouldn't be done and who should be doing what at certain times. But we've just figured it out along the way. And so I was going to actually share something, but I'll just go ahead and let you go.
No, go ahead.
I wanted to share something that I was reading, but my eyes are playing tricks on me, so I gotta find exactly what it is. Um,
So let's talk about like delve in a little bit. You know, you had said something about in today's society, you have relationships where it is expected for the woman to work to provide far as for the household or to contribute to the household and come home. And are you saying like to do like the cooking and the cleaning or taking care of the children, things of that nature?
yes, yes, I
And
remember.
are you looking at, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Are you looking at it from that perspective as a bad thing, good thing, or neutral?
I think I kind of am neutral about it if there's an understanding between that particular couple, if that makes
Hmm.
sense. I feel like when there is if things and boundaries or whatever is not established, I think that that's when it becomes a problem, and when it's not necessarily fair. You know, when I think about the fact when we started dating, I was like, I don't pump gas. Like
Hmm.
in a relationship, married, like I should never, ever, ever, ever have to pump gas. Okay.
Hmm.
Unless it's for some whatever reason you weren't able to do it, or I'm just being a fast ass, or whatever the case is. When I was like driving hardcore, like I don't I don't know the last time I had to even think about gas. Like I remember when the gas prices went up, right?
Hmm.
And it was all these thousands upon memes and videos going on or whatever. And I was, of course, I wasn't pumping gas, but it was just like when I started looking at it, it's like I would have never even known what gas prices were if I hadn't seen all these different posts about how high gas was for me to like be interested in knowing like how much is gas, you
Right.
know?
Right.
Um, but I know that's something that we established early on, and you didn't have a problem with that at all. So
Now, when you say establish, was that something that you established? I mean, by having a conversation with me, or that's something that I had already had took the liberty of doing without you saying anything?
you had already took the liberty of doing it, but I remember us having a conversation and me saying, like, I don't pump gas. And so I know, I think it was more so of me like applauding you early on in our dating process. Like, it was just things that you automatically did that I didn't, that it was like already on my list of gender role type things that I had going on. Like, yeah, I'm the woman, I'm not pumping no gas. Okay. And when I
Mhm.
saw that I didn't have to when we was dating because that was something you automatically did, I was like, "Yes, check. Okay, this is good. We're good. We are good." Now, I will say that when we dive a little bit deeper in this article, it talks about in your relationship really evaluating who you are, who
Mhm.
everybody's personality. So that it says while evaluating the marriage expectation within the framework of gender roles, differences other than similarities stand out. Right? So I think that this they also said because these differences in gender roles determine the hierarchy and disadvantages in the marriage process. I'm like looking at a lot right now. I am so sorry. But anyway,
That's
what I just read a couple of lines and I think I was skipping paragraphs, but basically what they were talking about is really looking at the personalities, you know, the personalities. Oh, this says the mental occupation is not only affected by the characteristics of the individual, such as personality, but also by the cultural structure and traditions of the society, starting from the family and expanding further. So, yes, basically, what I was saying is I think that we have to look at the personalities of the people in the relationship. Like, you like to call things deacons when it's like nasty to you. What would be like disgusting and deacons to you may not be as bad to somebody else. So I think it just goes back to personality. Even with you saying like you folding clothes is like kind of therapeutic and peaceful to you. I think that has to do with like who you are as a person. And I think it has a lot to do with personality. When I think about me being a person that loves to cook, right? I love just that whole experience. I love the smell of food. I like the plating of food. I like how you respond when you taste the food or how Samuel be like, "Good, mommy, tastes good."
Mhm.
you know?
Mhm.
I think it just goes back to who our personality how what our personalities are like. And so I think that that's something that everybody in their relationship should pay attention to. Like, does this really do something for my spouse, or is this something that they just absolutely hate? Because of course we have to do things that we don't like, but if you can say, well, I don't mind doing this and I hate folding clothes, but you don't mind it, then maybe should do that trade-off.
Mhm.
I know I said a lot, but yeah.
Yeah, it's all good. I think primarily gender roles needs to be established by communication and relationships.
Mhm.
Like far as communicating, especially let's say if you do have children and in a growing family, and I think it's fair enough where there is communication can be where one spouse can help with certain things where one spouse doesn't feel like they're getting burned out on a lot of things. I think when it comes to gender roles, I think some of the issues can be when there's not really clear communication.
Mhm.
And I think when there's no clear communication, then that's when things can start fostering in a relationship where there can be some arguing or major disagreements. And then that's when you can start having that stress and anxiety develop in a relationship because no one knows their role. If you look like for far as basketball and the basketball team, with the Chicago Bulls, and when you watch the docu series, that's I think was last year with Michael Jordan and the Bulls, is that he was big on making sure that everybody played a role. And I think in marriage, I think it's important to establish the roles for the man in that relationship and the roles for the woman in that relationship. And sometimes it may need to be revisited when you start building and having children in that marriage. And that way, both of you can actually
Mm.
feed off each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know one of the things they was talking about with some of the times divorce happens in marriages is when they were saying in this article is that there are a lot of reasons why marriage can fail today. And one has to do with how gender roles have changed. And what they were saying is historically, men typically wore the pants. And I think in today's society, into 21st century, the modern woman feels like they wear the pants and they feel like they're the boss. You be hearing that a lot. And I think one of the terminologies that you hear too as well is that you hear self-proclaimed boss women that, hey, I don't need a man to provide for me. I don't need a man to provide me because I can provide those things for myself. But I think that can be an issue then when you start getting into a relationship with the man that, hear those things and you don't allow that man to have that specific role, especially if they're catering to that role to be able to do a role of what a man or what they feel a man should be able to do in a relationship. So to you, how do you feel about that with far as, in today's women? Do you feel like today's women have a mentality that they are the boss and that they wear the pants in the relationship on some women?
Of course, there are some women, but like in this article, it says typically speaking, gender identity is developed in early childhood, right? And so when I read that, I think about the fact that in most relationships, everybody comes from a different household. Everybody's raised differently, right? So you have a lot of women who've grown up in single households. And so when you think about what you've learned, your gender roles are taught. You learn that okay, girls do this, boys do this, moms do this, and dads do that. And so when you have women who have come out of households where either it's been a single parent household or they've had a father or a male figure in the household who has been open to the idea of the spouse, being able to do roles or having roles that's outside of the norm, or are raising their daughters to be, more self-efficient, or not just looked at women are supposed to do this and not be able to do that. That's why you have women today who are in the mindset of I don't have to do these things because he says so or he wants me to, because it's a part of their upbringing. It's a part of who they are. When I think about myself coming from a single parent household, the reason why I would say I conducted myself a certain way, especially when we first met, first got married, and I would even still say have some of those same behaviors today, is because I grew up in a home where I'm not looking so much of the gender roles. I just know that I have to do all of the above. And so that's why you got women who are like, I'm a boss. I think that word is just kind of like overrated, but they just feel like I don't have to do these things. But then you have some that grow into that and are understanding that I'm okay with doing these things if I meet the right man, or if they begin to actually understand having a balance or compromise or all of that.
Yeah, but I think early on in our marriage, we did have some issues with that. And I think it did flare up early on in our relationship during the dating process. And it's something that we communicated about. It's something that we even went through with marriage counseling as well. And I think, you know, for me, just because, that's how you was raised, you have to change to a certain aspect when you go into a marriage, far as to cater to that spouse. I think a reason why there are so many divorces in marriages, yes, it's, some of it is relating to finances, but I think also is there's two people who don't know how to cater to one another. And I think if you have two people that don't know how to cater to one another, and we can go even from a deeper perspective, they don't know how to love each other in such a way that understand that love sometimes has to do with sacrifice. Love has to do with sometimes being humble. Love has to do with sometimes it's understanding. And I think when you look at it on a lot of things, is that some people don't know, because what you said, I could use the same background. What you're saying is because their mind is still back into that single life. Their
Right.
mind is back into that single life. And I think that's a recipe that if it's not tweaked to a certain perspective to understand that now that you have someone that's in your life that you love and you respect, sometimes in marriage, you have to understand to dial it down some so that way both people can come together and create something beautiful.
Right. I agree with that. I think that it had to happen on both ends because, of course, you grew up in a household where you had your mother and your father was very dominant, right? And your mom was, I don't even know if submissive would even be the right word, but you grew up in
What
that
other word would you
world,
use?
because I think I don't want to put submissive in such a negative spot. I don't want to,
I mean, but I mean, submissive
but
is it
I
is
would
what it
say
is.
submissive in a very over the top way, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, and you understood that as well. And
Mm-hmm.
so I feel like there was, because of how you were brought up and what you saw, and the fact of you seeing a, or seeing a woman that wasn't as outspoken or wasn't as capable, or a woman that wasn't as strong in various ways, that wasn't something that you were used to, but you valued a lot of the capabilities that I had as well. So I think it was more so of finding a fine balance between the two. I think it was you coming to my side and seeing and understanding who I was, right? And not me having to truly water down who I was. Like, I like the word you said, dial it back, because I feel like we both had to dial who we were. You had to dial some of who you were back, and I had to dial some of who I was back. And it also has to do with, you got two alpha personalities that's coming into a situation too. So once again, it just goes back to personality. I think that beyond our personality, we have common sense, right? And beyond common sense, we have a love for one another, and we value our marriage, and knowing that saying I'm not going to back down is not always the answer. It's always a compromise. And I think that also just understanding the condition, the circumstances of what we have going on. I'll even go as far as saying how you're naturally a scholar in my mind. And I feel like because of that, you are a great teacher. Now, I know I do a great job of teaching our son, but every day my mind isn't there. Mentally, I'm not there. Physically, I'm not there. Emotionally, I'm not there. Patience, why all of those things, I'm not always present to do that whole teaching aspect, right? But you can show up. And I feel like, with that being said, we've been able to figure out, even in discrepancies or differences, like, hey, I have the ability to step up in this way just as well as you being having that ability, because there is some days why you can't get up, and there are some days when you're just not there, you're not present. You see what I'm saying? I feel like there's a median in this whole thing.
Yeah, I would say, with regards to that, I think, in our marriage a shift had to happen because you had two cerebellum strokes back in 2019, I want to say,
18.
or 2018, and a shift happened, and it was a major gender role shift that happened into our marriage. And I think it's very important to convey that message is that, when you're in a marriage, you have to be prepared, whether it's the husband or the wife, that a major gender role shift that you probably wasn't expecting to take so much of the blunt of the responsibility may have to happen if sickness do arise in the marriage, because it's not something that we plan for. It's something that just happened unexpectedly. And
Mhm,
I think with that, it did cause a level of stress in our marriage.
mhm,
It did cause a level of misunderstanding in our marriage. It caused a level of short patience in our marriage because, I had some moments of feeling like, this is not what I signed up for. I mean,
right.
I wasn't expecting, to be doing this, what I'm saying, at the level of what's going on. And I think it really takes if you're not a person that believe in a higher power, I know for me, it takes a level of prayer, meditation, um, understanding, and really going to a place of recalibration. Um, for me, working out, watching what I eat, um, things of that nature to really kind of like catapult myself to not go into negative places within my mind. And also, I think for us, what helped out some was marriage counseling, being able to communicate with someone and what's going on in the marriage and being able to have that level of trust. Because sometimes, it could be hard talking to someone who you don't trust, especially
Right.
someone that's outside your marriage or outside your relationship that you don't even know. Because sometimes you got some therapists out there that's jacked up, and they may hear just or convey just the one side of the person. So it's so very important to not give up when you talk to when you're looking for a good therapist. There are some good therapists out there. If it's something, if you need a referral, that's something you want to make sure that you can look for and depend on, the level of compatibility to your psyche or to your personality. That's another thing you need to look out for too as well. Is that I think in our marriage, when that gender role shift, it was nothing but the grace of God that helped us to get through. And it's something that even to this day that we
It's hard.
still, have those, have some good days, have some bad days, but it's that level of love for one another to understand is that we're in a union together and we're committed to the marriage. And I think sometimes people get it twisted that yes, things are going to happen. There may be sickness that may come into your relationship. An accident may come into your relationship. Death may come into maybe not in your immediate relationship, but in the family and things like that. But guess what? Life still goes on, and you have to find a way to mend together to be able to handle whatever you're going through in your marriage.
Right. I think that what I would leave us with is the fact that you have to just take it day by day. I know that there are some times where I've looked and assessed what's going on in that moment and say to myself, if I have to push myself to do that, if you're saying I'm tired, you always hear me say, I'll do it. I'll do it. And I think that we've even battled with the fact that you want to always do it. Like you want to say I did it, right? And that's not from a selfish standpoint, it's just that I think that's just the caregiver in you, the husband in you, the father in you that just always wants to show up. But I know there's moments where I'll look at you or you've just said something and I'm literally okay with saying, you know what? I'll do it. And I think that people have to look and assess their relationship in that moment and hear their spouse. You have to really listen. You have to pay attention not only just to what they're saying, but to their body language and their emotions and all of those things. And you speak a lot with body language. And I pick up on that. And I think that people have to really learn their significant other and knowing that if I can step up in this moment, and even if this isn't something that I typically do or normally do, or however, it is not what we agreed upon is my particular role or whatever that is. I think sometimes we have to do what we don't normally do for the sake of our relationship. And
Yeah.
that's
Yeah, and I think it's one thing I want to make a point is that money does not solve all the issues in the marriage. You know, you know, contrary to what somebody may believe, but it doesn't. Prime example, just look at the Kim Kardashian and Kanye West situation. That's a it's a lot of noise. It's feedback coming from your side, baby.
I don't know.
Yeah, your head is in there. I guess that's when you don't have those headphones in. It picks up on everything.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear it now?
No, but I think that's that marriage or that union that was together. There was a lot of things that they was battling behind closed doors, and you talk about two of the most wealthiest people in the country, or you could rather even say even in the world, like billionaires. So let that be a lesson into our heads to understand is that money doesn't bring full happiness in a marriage.
Hmm.
I think what brings happiness in the marriage is to being able to grow together and being truly happy with the person that you with
Yeah.
outside of money, how they make you happy, how they make you laugh, how they take care of you if you're feeling under the weather, how they do the things like folding the clothes, opening up your door, things like that, being a gentleman or being a queen. Those things in a relationship will pass the test of times, and it'll definitely be things that you could just remember. Like even if you was just sitting down on the couch and you reading a book or watching TV, and then you may have just a thought in your head or something, what I'm saying, or just how y'all made love the last night or yesterday and things of that nature. Those are the memories and the lasting of impressions that will take hold in this relationship or in that relationship rather.
It's another thing before we go, I wanted to mention is being able to eliminate stressors, especially when it comes to gender roles, right? When we think about delegating and outsourcing, I think a lot of people should embrace that if it's within their means. So if you can hire somebody once or twice a month to clean your house, maybe that's what you should do to help everybody in the house out. I remember that's something you started when I was pregnant. And it was like, so I had never had anybody come clean my home. But because you understood where I was physically, that's what you started. And it was such a relief. And now it became a norm for us to have somebody come in and clean the home and do that deep cleaning because I'm not able to do that, you know? You don't have the time to do that yourself. We talk about cooking. Every day, as much as I love to cook, I don't want to do it every day. I don't feel like it. So there's days where you be like, okay, let's go eat out. And it's such a relief, you know? And you think about we have dogs, right? I didn't even know there was a dog poop picker upper person out there. But we would let our dogs go out in the backyard, they do their business. And you don't feel like going out there every day picking up poop, especially when we got two dogs and you finding a dog poop person, you was complaining about it forever. And then you found, I was like, why? I didn't even know there was somebody that did that. But it made so much sense in having that level of convenience. I feel like people really downgrade or discount and marginalize convenience. And convenience is so important. And even when down, you had a lawnmower, right? But it's
Mhm,
nothing like having somebody to come and cut the grass and do the landscaping for us.
mhm,
So, if anything, when we think about gender roles, that's something else I would really, really encourage and everybody in marriage to do is to outsource things, create less stress. If you're not in the mood of doing it, say I'm going to cook 3 days out of the week, but the other days we're going to eat out, or we're going to do DoorDash, or you're in the Uber Eats, or whatever is going to best fit your family.
Yeah, that's great points. And I think that was something to definitely end off of is just coming up with solutions of things that really helps and can help someone that's watching this video. You already know what to do. If you know, if you can do us a favor on our Cuddle with Purpose YouTube channel, if you can like it first and foremost, because that does help our channel to continue to grow and hit those recommendations of the YouTube algorithm. Comment, engage with us, and share this video and subscribe to our channel
Subscribe.
and hit that bell notification so that way you can get notified when you get new videos or when we create new videos to come out so you can see it. So definitely, man, we appreciate everyone. And definitely stay tuned into our next video that's going to be airing on Sunday. On this video, this
Yes,
video should be airing on Sunday. So you're definitely getting notified of it on our social media platforms. So
yes. And
y'all
I don't know
take
if you
care.
guys, oh, I was going to
No, go
mention
ahead.
that. I don't know if you guys realize, but we are dropping videos on Sundays and Wednesdays because we have so much that we want to share with you, so much things that we're putting together for you guys. And we just want to cuddle with purpose, guys. We're taking our relationships and our marriages to the next level. And that's it, guys. Cuddle with purpose.
But with purpose, y'all. Y'all take care and always be blessed.